Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we will interview Mrs. Betty Downing, Supreme Inspector and member of the House of Gold for Washington, Idaho Rainbow.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have our usual host of hosts. We have Very Worship Brother Steve Chung, who's a member of Prince Charles Lodge number 153 in Kelowna, BC. Very Worship Brother David Colbeth from King Solomon number 60 in Auburn, Washington. Brother Craig Graham from Kalamalka Lodge number 160 in Vernon, BC. And I'm Matt Appel. I'm a member of Mill Creek number 243, and we meet in lovely Mount Lake Terrace, Washington. And we have with us today our very special guest, Mrs. Betty Downing, who is, as I said earlier, the Supreme Inspector and member of the House of Gold for Washington, Idaho Rainbow. Mrs. Downing, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Nice to be here.
So I guess the first question we usually ask of our esteemed guests is, how did you end up being the Supreme Inspector and member of the House of Gold for Washington, Idaho Rainbow? What path led you to where you are?
What path? Well, I was a rainbow girl back in long time ago in Tacoma, and I joined because a friend of mine joined, and the minute I walked in, I knew I was hooked. So I was in rainbow my entire youth, and I took a break for a while to have some kids. And when my daughter was asked to join by a friend, I jumped back in and have been there ever since. I was a member of Everett Assembly Advisory Board. I became their mother advisor, and I was the mother advisor for about 5 years. And then the grand deputy of, at that time, it was District 19, but now it's Snow King. And then I was the deputy for about 7 years. And then I transitioned out and I did some things on the jurisdictional level, adult education advisor, and was just kind of doing some things like that. And I got a phone call from my predecessor, Barbara Brown, who said, "I want to retire. Are you interested?" And after she picked me up off the floor, we chatted. And then that process is you fill out a questionnaire. That questionnaire goes to the Supreme Assembly. There's an interview. And then if everything works right, then you're appointed by the Supreme Worthy Advisor, which I was. And I was appointed Supreme Deputy, and I served 9 years with Supreme Deputy. And just last July, I was elected into the House of Gold. And when you are elected into the House of Gold, the title changes to Supreme Inspector.
So I'll show my, well, I know. So I should say, David and I have girls who were rainbow girls, but I'm guessing Stephen and Craig have not, if only because I don't think they have rainbow in BC, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
So I will pretend like I know less than I do and ask, what is the House of Gold, and what does the Supreme Inspector do, for that matter?
Okay, well, I just became a member of the House of Gold in July, so I'm still learning everything about it. But they are the governing body of Rainbow internationally, and it is comprised of Supreme Deputies who have worked a minimum of 6 years and have been voted into the House of Gold. That group, along with Supreme Deputies, work to make policy and direct the organization internationally. So the only thing that I know at this point that the Supreme Inspectors do that the deputies don't is elect people into the House of Gold and to elect people into the Supreme line. And the Supreme line is just like any Rainbow Assembly. You start with faith and you move up to charity, to faith, hope, charity. We're the associate advisor and we're the advisor. They move up the same way our girls do in the assemblies.
So even on the adult level at international, it's mirrors the youth organization, yes, essentially.
Yes. That structure in the assembly, that same structure is at the supreme level.
Interesting. But it's adults and not, or are there youth? I know with Jobies, there's we had the many with Jobies, and with the DMLA, they have youth in those levels. Is there youth parallels, or is it just adults?
It's adults.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're working on it and getting the girls more involved.
Sure.
Yeah, but all of those positions are women, and at our supreme assemblies every 2 years, the girls will mirror those offices and do the ritualistic parts and things like that at the supreme level. But that we're different from Jobies in that respect.
Sure.
We have that international Miss Job's daughters, and that.
So speaking of being different than Jobies is the only thing I know, or at least understand. So maybe, especially for our listeners, enlighten us as to really what Rainbow Girls is.
Well, when you get down to it, all of the Masonic youth, we are so much alike in so many ways in the fact of what we do to try and guide the youth. The big difference back when Rainbow got started was that you did not have to have a Masonic affiliation to become a Rainbow Girl. You could be initiated into Rainbow by recommendation of a friend who was a member in good standing. So that is what was the difference at the beginning. Our founder, the Reverend W. Mark Sexton, he saw that. He was a member of Eastern Star in McAlester, Oklahoma, and he was the secretary of Scottish Rite. And he came across, he was also a minister, he also came across of girls and good character that he felt could benefit from the Masonic family, and developed Rainbow to have those girls that did not have a Masonic affiliation to be able to have a group that had the same tenets and teachings of the Masonic family.
So you mentioned in the kind of the opening that you went to a meeting and you were hooked. Mm-hmm. Why were you hooked?
I loved it the minute I came in. One of the things that keeps me involved, and I talk to many adults about this, is you just kind of want to watch that one more little girl grow up and see her flourish. And that was me. I was a very shy, very introverted girl, and Rainbow was a very safe place for me, a very fun place for me. I have friends today that were Rainbow sisters when I was in, and just that sisterhood and fun and that feeling of family, and just the confidence that I got when I was in Rainbow, the confidence of, being able to speak in front of public, being able to run a meeting, be able to put a budget together, be able to plan events, big events, small events. All of those things were what I, as a youth, was looking for. And my friend said, come and join, and I loved it.
Yeah, I remember back, we were talking to Jeff Brunson for DMLA, and when he was talking about events for that the guys have to do, and youth in general, but it's anybody, even in Masonry, any organizations, if you put an event together, it kind of forces you to do to develop some of those leadership aspects. And so you may think a car wash, that's kind of silly, that's not really an event. Well, yeah, you got to call people, you got to organize things, you got to plan, you got to budget, you got to do all those elements. And it may seem a little bit trite because it's just a car wash, but really you are developing those skills and abilities.
Exactly. And when you watch a 13, 14-year-old girl who takes on an event for the very first time and sees it through all the way to the end, you just see that growth in them, that pride in themselves, that confidence is building. And that's why we stay. That's why I stay, because I love seeing the girls go from that transition and growth. There's always one more girl I want to see grow up. There's always just one more girl I want to see grow up.
You said you started in Tacoma. Did you stay the whole time in Tacoma, or I'm sorry, no, you were in the North End. Sorry,
I'm in the North End. I'm in Everett right now, but my assembly I joined was Acacia Assembly, which was in Steilacoom, Washington. Okay. Yeah, okay. And that's where my rainbow journey started. And interesting is that we were considered a small assembly at that time. We had about 35 members, and we were considered small. And so that just kind of shows you how big it was at that time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the age range then for the Rainbow Girls? Like how old are you when you're initiated?
Well, it's from 11 to 20. However, Supreme Assembly passed a resolution a number of years ago that with approval of the Supreme Officer, the executive officer, girls at the age of 10 can be initiated. We have a pretty good and have historically had a really good pledge program. And so that pledge program gets those younger girls ready for when they actually join Rainbow at 11. So we didn't fully embrace, though other jurisdictions then did embrace the 10-year-old initiation age. We still kind of kept it separate because of our pledge program. Okay. More fun, not so much having to sit in a meeting. Yeah. That's what the pledges are.
Is your assembly still there in Steilacoom?
My assembly's not there. No, okay. We lost that one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a beautiful building, though. If you've ever down in Steilacoom, the building is still there. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife was in Rainbow, and her mother was in Rainbow, and they have similar stories of, like, when my wife Katie was in Rainbow, there was lots of girls, and they had to have 3 terms a year in order to try and get more girls through, and even then not everyone got to be a worthy advisor. And my mother-in-law will then inevitably say, well, back when I was in Rainbow, there were 150 girls at a meeting, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like the Blue Lodges in that sense, that the membership levels have not been going up in the last as a trend in the last few years. So
yeah, I'm really happy to see that this year our girls at the age of 11 to 14 are increasing. So we are getting past that COVID slump that a lot of us felt. And I truly believe that before, but especially since COVID, parents are looking for safe, fun places where their girls can be, where they are going to be challenged and they'll learn confidence. And Rainbow, Jobs, DeMolay, that's what we offer. And we just need to get the word out there so people can find us. And we are having more parents come to us just for that reason. They want to get their girls involved with other youth, other girls, and they're finding us what they're wanting. So
with the as we're talking about, back in my day and whatnot, as times moved on, have you seen a lot of change or evolution in rainbows, in adapting to today's world and the dealings of the internet and all that kind of stuff, and how it's affecting the girls?
Well, yes. One of the things is the girls have just so far past us in regards to technology. And technology has moved us so much forward in the last 4 years than I think we had a decade before that. Contacting through social media and getting videos and information out to more people, that's incredible. And that's led by our girls. Our girls lead that. We have a team of girls with a couple of adults that put all of our promotional material out. They come up with our videos. They come up with everything that they do to support Rainbow and promote Rainbow. And that's all girl led, because it's girls talking to girls, which is what we want. So that is the biggest thing that I've seen. I've also seen that girls are, they have so much more to do now. And so balancing, teaching girls today how to balance their time, and not saying you can only do Rainbow. That's not the case any longer. We have girls that are in sports, in drama, I've got 2 girls that race drag strips. I've got girls that are wrestlers. You'd be surprised what our girls are doing. And one of the incredible things that our assemblies are doing is that they are supporting those other efforts. So if a member is in a play, the assembly will get together and go and watch the play. If they're playing basketball, they'll go and watch them play basketball. The support of the assemblies to the girls individually and what they're doing in Rainbow and out is amazing. And that is something that our assemblies are doing really well in supporting each girl individually and their individual interests, because those interests they bring back to Rainbow, and it makes their assemblies better and more interesting, and more girls want to be there.
Well, I will say something though. If you've got girls in your assembly that are wrestlers and drag drivers, I don't want to get on the wrong side of that assembly for certain.
Yeah, it was interesting because I knew of one, and then I heard of a second one, and I thought, oh my gosh, okay. So they're doing it all. They're doing it all.
Well, and I think that's pretty cool to have that such a big group of your peers coming out to support you at events, which also really shows well, I'm sure, for them going to the people that they're with already, saying who are they, right?
Right.
And you get to answer, well, this is my Rainbow group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what do you call them? A Rainbow Assembly?
Assembly, yeah.
Okay,
yep.
Right.
They're friends, they're sisters. Yeah, it's very impressive when you have a girl that's got a part in a play, and it might not be the main part, but it's a part in the play. And then in mass, all these people come and are there to support her. And that's very impressive to see. And that's what it's all about, is the sisterhood and the family that are developed within the assemblies for each other, and the girls' true friendship for each other.
So you mentioned a second ago, but I just want to ask this before I forget, that Rainbow was founded by a minister, and you said the word faith in your description, that it was about faith and friends, and I think there was a third F that I've forgotten. But I guess my question is what is the faith component there? Is it an overtly religious organization, or in one religion or another, or is there a...
No, we, as in Joby's and the other youth groups, we do ask that our members have a belief in a supreme being. We don't dictate that it has to be a certain religion. We were just founded by a Christian minister, and so many of our lessons are taken from scripture, just like Job's daughters. And so, as a matter of fact, at our grand assembly that's coming up in 40 days, on our altar, there will be 5 books of faith on the altar. And each one of those books of faith will be to represent the faith base of the girls members of this jurisdiction. So we don't require, we just require a belief in a supreme being.
Yeah, I usually end up saying something similar to new Masons or prospective Masons, that we don't care what you are. We want you to believe in a supreme being. But keep in mind that, this was founded by a bunch of English guys in the 1700s. So what did they know? They knew the Bible. So there's a lot of biblical stuff in there.
Right. Same with us. And in our initiation ceremony, or our new members ceremony, it is a symbolic journey of the girl taking a journey to find the end of the rainbow. They see the rainbow in the sky, and they want to find the end, because they want to find what the contents are in the pot of gold that's at the end of the rainbow. And so our initiation is that symbolic journey of trying to find the end of the rainbow. And through that, the rainbow shows to them 7 lessons that the girls take and learn and put into practice. And with that, that gives them the tools to make it through teenage years, through adulthood, and beyond. And those 7 lessons are love, religion, nature, immortality, fidelity, patriotism, and service. And they are guided by the sister of faith, because we do say you need to have faith to move forward. And they come across the sister of hope, to have hope in your life, and to be a servant leader. And then there's the sister of charity. And so those are the main lessons in Rainbow that we teach our girls. And they find it. They find the pot of gold at the end of the initiation, and we explain what all's in it.
And there's some cool secret stuff in there that you can only find out if you join.
That's right.
I've been chasing all the rainbows to the very end as I can find them, and I can't find that pot of gold anywhere.
You need to come down and go to a rainbow initiation. You'll see.
So all I ever get is just a nasty little leprechaun at the end saying, "No,
Yeah.
no, hey, yeah, okay."
There are those.
So I guess we've sort of worked our way into this. So a lodge, if you will, of Rainbow Girls is an assembly.
Correct.
And there are 5 elected officers in the
There
assembly?
are 5 elected officers, and those are the Office of Faith, Hope, Charity, the Worthy Associate Advisor, and the Worthy Advisor. And all of those are elected on the assembly level. They are also the 5 elected officers on our grand level, which is our state level group. We are one of a handful of jurisdictions that elect our girl leaders. Other jurisdictions, the girls are appointed, or they go in front of a committee of the Grand Executive Committee. But ever since Washington, Idaho was founded, our girls elect the girls that are going to lead them for the next year, which makes us unique. And it's very important to those girls that take on that commitment. There's a lot of passion, and they want to see the organization move forward. So very proud of that part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm always surprised at how much variation there is. I mean, I guess I know on an intellectual level for Grand Lodges, they're completely independent organizations. So the Grand Lodge of whatever Kansas and Washington and Germany are all have their own rules. But I'm always surprised how much variation there is in Rainbow and in other organizations where there is an international governing body, and yet still the states or the local jurisdictions have differences like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are all independent. We all follow the same bylaws. We follow the same ritual, though that there are 2. There's a traditional ritual and a contemporary ritual, and you can choose whichever one you want to use.
Oh, careful! Talk about contemporary rituals with Matt. That's his hot button.
But other than that, they develop. They see what is best for their girls in their area, and they are allowed to dictate themselves.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's begging in his mind to ask about the contemporary ritual. I can hear it.
I am. I'm trying to avoid it. So
Yep.
you said there was an international governing body. Is it how international of an organization is it? Is it they say it's international, but really it's just the U.S. or
No. We are in Brazil. We are in Paraguay. We are in the Philippines. We are in, of course, I can't think of all of them, but we are truly international. We are truly an international organization. We used to be in Japan. We used to be, when I was in. So Brazil, like I said, so we are international. And what we have in our jurisdiction and many jurisdictions is we have what is called jurisdictional representatives. And those girls are appointed for a year to correspond with girls in other jurisdictions. And that includes some of our girls get international jurisdictions, and they not only learning about rainbow in there, they're learning about their culture. And it's really fun to listen to those girls come back and talk about what they've learned from those international jurisdictions. That's pretty exciting.
Can I ask how come they're not in BC?
I don't know. They are on the east coast of Canada. I don't know why they're not on the west coast. I'll have to look that up and find out.
Got to get your granddaughters to start one, Steve.
I don't have granddaughters. I have grandsons.
Maybe
okay.
Get your daughter to have.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one has no desire for that yet. I'm good. Yeah.
But there's other Masons that have daughters or granddaughters there, so
that is true.
You could start one.
We have an assembly just over the border, so we'd love to have those people.
It's only a 5-hour drive for us to get true. There,
So, but our jurisdiction is pretty big. We go from the Canadian border all the way to eastern Idaho. So from going from the most north all the way to the most east, it's about an 8-hour drive to get from one to the other. So our jurisdiction is pretty big.
Yeah, Idaho is a big state, but yeah.
Yeah, you get to the lower part.
Yeah.
Takes you a while to get there. So, and Idaho has always been with Washington. And back in the 50s, from 37 to 54, I think it was Washington, Idaho, and the territory of Alaska. So at one point we had the three, and then Alaska broke off on their own, and Washington and Idaho has always been together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that, we've about reached the half-hour mark here. So I want to, well, first of all, encourage folks to comment on YouTube and other venues. We're interested in hearing your rainbow stories and your inputs about what we've talked about or future ideas for episodes. But more importantly, on behalf of David and Craig and Steve and myself, thank you, Mrs. Downing, for being here this evening. We appreciate your time. I know it's a busy time, or not a busy time, but a busy job that you have, and you're
Well, I appreciate you coming and letting me talk about something I'm very passionate about and I love.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
With that, we want to thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast. Goodbye.